コレさん。
こんにち
お
は。
久しぶりですね。は
元気?
い。元気元気。How's it going?
Good. I'm doing really good. How are you?
Amazing. Good, good. How's actually going all the life progress? Because I heard that you are getting married?
Yeah, I just got married.
Wow. Oh my God. That's amazing.
There's
You,
been a
so,
a lot that has happened since the last time we talked.
yeah, exactly. It's almost 1 year.
Yeah, because I ended up deploying for 6 months. So I left Japan and I was in Guam and then I spent some time in the Philippines as well. So for,
I
for a while I had to stop my classes.
Yeah, I remember. But it's finally you're getting married.
Yeah,
That's
so now I
amazing.
came back to Japan. I got married, but we're having a big wedding in March down in Kobe.
Wow, that's amazing. So exciting. And tell me about how did you meet your wife?
We actually met through a dating app, like right when I got here too. It was
Hmm?
very, very early. She was my first and last date with a Japanese girl, so I struck gold on the first try. She took me to Meijijinga down in Tokyo, and we went. It was
Nice.
our first date down there. Yeah, and that was the start of the rest of our lives, and it's been great. Like I said, so English is her second language. She did a semester abroad in Canada when she was in
Mm-hmm.
university, so her English is really good. She'll tell you it's not, but it's really good. So we're always helping each other. She's learning more like slang and sarcasm now. She's up to like
Mm-hmm.
that level of proficiency,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not even close to that yet, but it's fun that we're both learning together. It makes things interesting.
Amazing. So you actually started dating with a Japanese person, and while those actually relationship, you actually meet your wife friends or mother-in-law, father-in-law, and those actually situation. How was actually like kind of experience of those lot of different interaction? I'm sure some people couldn't really speak to you any English, right?
Yeah, at first, I've met a lot of her friends, but at first they were a little awkward. We couldn't make much conversation. But as my Japanese has gotten better, especially with her mom, for example, like there was nothing that we could talk about without my wife present helping us get through the conversation together. She would translate for me to Japanese for her mom and vice versa. But now when I see her mom, we're able to have small conversation a little bit, and her mom has taken an interest in learning some English too, so that she can talk to me. So it's coming along. It's not perfect yet. I'm not able to say everything that I want to say, but we can have those conversations. I can at least get my point across for the most part. So it's exciting for me. Like I'll tell her if I have a conversation with a random person at bakery or the store or something like that. It feels like a little win for me when I said something for the first time or was able to understand more for the first time. So it's fun. It went from very small, just hajime to now I can explain where I'm from and what I do for work. I can hold, a 5 minute small conversation in Japanese.
To be honest, it's from the military during the master course. Somebody getting married is the first time. Actually, you are the first one. Some people usually already got married, or after master course, several years they getting married. Like it's not during the master course. Outside of U.S. military, we have seen it, not in the military members. So that's why it's really kind of really fresh. So that's gonna be really motivated to the other people. Like, oh, this is can be happen staying in Japan. When you arrived in Japan, I'm sure you didn't really imagine all those process.
Yeah, not at all. I had no idea that life was going to hit me this hard when I moved to Japan. But yeah, it's been a blessing. And the classes with Shono-san, the lessons with her, they've been so valuable to everything here in Japan, from going to the grocery store and feeling confident on my own, or meeting my wife's family for the first time, or interacting with coworkers. So it's been great. And
Amazing.
I can't thank her enough. She was awesome. She was the best.
And just tell me about yourself. Like, when did you move to Japan? And also where you're from and your background in the States.
I moved to Japan about 15 months ago now, and I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, back in the States. So I spent most of my life there, and then when I joined the military, I moved down to Texas, and I spent about 6 years down in Texas. So zero Japanese training in school. As a matter of fact, I took French, and I forgot most of that. So this is my first real solid shot at trying to learn a second language, and I never thought at 30 years old that I'd be attempting to start learning my my second language, but it's been so much fun. And especially, so English is my wife's second language. So we're kind of learning each other's language together. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of learning and practicing together and messing up and getting things right after the 20th try. But it's fun. It's a good time.
Amazing. So when you actually arrived in Japan, of course, you didn't really imagine those all, meeting a Japanese person or getting married and everything. Is you didn't imagine for sure. But how do you see when you arrived in Japan? What was your first impression about Japan?
Well, I heard amazing things about Japan before I
Mm.
got here. I had a lot of previous coworkers that just had the best things to say about Japan and Tokyo and the base that I was going to. So I had high expectations, but I never expected to fall in love with Japan and the culture and the language and the people. Everybody's just so nice, and the food and the traveling is so great. Like I love it here. I could absolutely see myself settling down in Japan one day, raising a family here after the military. I love it, from the mountains to Tokyo. Like everything's kind of close to my area. I get a little bit of both, and there's just like not a side of the country or the people that I haven't loved. Nothing's been fell short of my expectations. So I have
Mm.
nothing but good things to say about my experience here so far. And as a matter of fact, my mom just came to visit me. Yeah, I got to show her kind of like what life looks like for me out here and what it looks like for me and my wife. And so that was really cool.
Amazing. And then 15 months ago, you actually arrived in Japan, and pretty quickly you visit our school and you decided to learn. What was actually kind of motivation? Like, okay, I'm going to learn this time. Age 30, you didn't really learn the second language. Kind of really big challenge.
Yeah. So living in Germany, I found a lot more English speakers around in Europe. So I never found it very difficult when out. Like I lived off of base there in a local village, but I never found it very difficult to find somebody that spoke English and then get help if I needed it. Whatever the situation was, there was usually an English speaker. Living in Korea, all around the base where I lived was we called it Americanized. It was like mini America right outside the base. So again, I didn't
Mm,
need to learn the
mm.
language, but I quickly found, living off base and living in the economy here in Japan, that that wasn't the case. And there was a couple interactions way early on that were just awkward. I didn't know what to do except for use my phone and a translate app. And I was like, it's time to actually make an attempt to learn a language.
Yeah, I see. And then 15 months ago, when you arrived, where was it? The first place that you felt like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
It was 7-Eleven. I have a 7-Eleven right outside my house. And all I wanted was just water or some drinks or something when I first moved in. And we couldn't make conversation. And I was like, okay, I need to learn a little bit. I need to be able to get through these interactions confidently and yeah, be able to get by here in Japan. I can't do this for 2 years. So, and then I met my now wife, and she was a big motivating piece for me to really learn the language.
Amazing. And 2024, there are a bunch of actually like a way to learn the language. Some people just looking at the Duolingo, and some people actually watching like Japanese entertainment, anime. There are a lot of actually US military members in Japan, from Okinawa base to Yokohama Air Base. There are many actually bases in Japan. But it's still, I see that this majority is they don't learn Japanese very much, right? So what do you see that is why those people, I mean, most of majority people, they don't learn the language?
Japanese people, they're so helpful and so kind. When if you can show a little bit of initiative to use as much Japanese as I can, they reciprocate that tenfold. So it's sad when you see so many service members over here that don't take the time to learn the customs and courtesies or learn a little bit of the language, at least enough to be polite and whatnot when they're at a restaurant and when they're out in public. It's unfortunate. And I guess I was that service member in other countries, so I don't have a whole lot of room to talk, but I decided to make a change this assignment, and I'm very happy that I did.
Amazing. How do you see what was actually kind of differences, either just to get around everything English with the Google Translate, or you actually now you feel the bilingual? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is confidence. If I'm without my wife and I'm on a solo journey one day in Tokyo, I'm confident doing so, whether I have to ask somebody for help or just knowing that I have the ability to interact and ask people if I needed something and I'm not not so reliant on either Google Translate or things like that. It's a freeing feeling when you know that you can use the language to get yourself out of a sticky situation if you happen to get in one.
Amazing. And then you see that a lot of service member majority is not learning Japanese. Do you see that it's maybe because they have a fear of language learning, or it's just lazy, or what do you think?
Yeah, everybody has an excuse for not wanting to learn a language, and it's intimidating when you've reached adulthood. You didn't grow up speaking a language. The easy thing to do is say, I'm not doing that, or I'll learn how to say thank you and say hello, but I'm not taking on this mountain of a challenge it would be to start to learn Japanese. And I felt that way when I started. I was like, man, I don't know about this. This language sounds nothing like the language that I speak. But through those 1 hour sessions with Shono-san, slowly I gained confidence and I was able to say a little bit more each week, and your vocabulary grows, and you just start getting these little wins and they accumulate, and all of a sudden you're having a 5 or 10 minute conversation. You didn't even realize you knew that much Japanese. So yeah, I think it's intimidating to start, and that's probably the biggest barrier to people starting their training, to take up a second language, whether it's Japanese or any other language. But I'm happy that I was able to get over that and I started.
Yeah, and it's just a 15 months, so many like a progress, not just about the language learning. You actually found a life partner and you got married and you have actually wedding coming up. Like some people actually took 10 years to do it, all those things.
No complaints.
Amazing. And then how was it actual lesson with Shono? Did you actually see any difficulty or something that you felt like it's really difficult to make a progress? How was it, the experience with Shono?
I have nothing but good things to say about her. She was amazing. She did such a good job at explaining things to me when I had questions. But the reading and writing piece, I kind of like that, because when I first started, like our first 5 lessons. Like I said, it's intimidating starting up a second language when you're an adult already. So the fact that I could just focus on speaking and she let me kind of drive where the lessons were going. So I got to pick what we learned and what conversations we were having. So I found myself going to restaurants a lot. So the first thing that we learned was restaurant etiquette and how to get through navigating those conversations. So I didn't have to worry about learning how to read a menu, but I learned how to ask for an English menu, so that was cool. And yeah, so it was nice to focus on one thing and not focus on speaking, pronunciation, reading, writing, and trying to get all of it right at one time. I was able to just narrow down my focus, and that definitely helped in the beginning. Now I'm interested. Now I kind of am wondering, like, oh, what's that sign say?
Yeah, definitely take a time, and then you can enjoy making progress. And the writing reading side take time, but also you can do by yourself with the reading or writing side. But also the speaking listening side, you needed the feedback that are you saying correctly, or are you actually really understanding the actual native person. So I think you made a really good balance. Amazing. So in 2024 to 2025, a lot of actual American people, I see that is a lot of people are fascinated about Japanese culture, even like a traditional culture. Like, can you actually give the advice to them that is what they should start to push them to learn the language?
I think I'm still looking for like my place in Japan where I want to settle down. So I've gotten to experience this part, but for anybody that's looking to make that leap over to Japan, learn how to use chopsticks. Thankfully, I knew before I got here, but there are restaurants, just like my mom ran into this. Some restaurants just will not have a fork anywhere. So learn how to use your chopsticks. But I've been saying I have nothing but positive things to say about moving here. It's such a nice culture, and it's so respectful. Everything is based on respect around here. And even if you get accidentally bumped into in a crowded place, nobody means any ill intent behind what they do. Tokyo is like one of the busiest but most organized cities that I've ever seen. And when you find yourself immersed in the culture, you just want to be a part of that, want to be respectful as well. And so just, if you're scared about coming over here, just rip the band-aid off, do it, and learn as much as you can. It's great. It changed my life. Coming over here to Japan has changed my life.
Amazing. And anybody who is afraid of learning language, how you can encourage text them.
If I can do it, anybody can do it. It doesn't take any special skill. Find a reason to learn. If it's moving here or if it's for a spouse or, find your reason and then keep practicing. It just takes repetition and putting the work in, but no special skills besides showing up and doing it. So if I can do it, they can do it. Absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, so keep in touch on the WhatsApp.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay, またね。
だね。